have different leads. And I think in some cases, this is not well represented in many of the frameworks, particularly some of the more narrow ones. Like they've got one role, one leadership role, and that's it. And fine, that's their scope. But and just like in some ways, the Project Management Institute is very clearly promoted the roles of the project manager and program manager and portfolio manager and a few others. But now we're looking at a more robust view of the universe. And so we have a more robust view of what team leads are all about.
Okay, we have a question on the chat, and he asks, if you could kindly explain the concept of Disciplined Agile.
Yeah, definitely. So Disciplined Agile is a toolkit, and what we've done, and it's a hybrid. So it's not just about being agile; it's really about being effective. And so we've adopted great ideas from a very wide range of sources, from Scrum and SAFe and the PMBOK guide, and Agile modeling and Agile data and Kanban and many others, ITIL and COBIT and other bodies of knowledge. And we've put the techniques into context, because every given practice, every given strategy works well in some situations and is a really bad idea in others. So I don't believe in best practices at all. I've been looking for them for years, for decades, and I've yet to find a single one. I've been presented with probably thousands over the years, but have never actually run into one. And because no practice is good in all situations. It really isn't. So we need to be honest about this. So what we're doing in DA, what we've done in DA, is put these strategies into context, because none of the frameworks are sufficient. And you are always on the hook for filling in the blanks that they don't want to cover, and they don't really give you a lot of advice to do so. Sometimes they'll say, "Well, hire our expensive consultants." So fair enough, but that's about it. So that can, that wonderful marketing for them, I guess. But anyways, we really do need to up our game, and DA is all about teaching you how to learn to get better at getting better, learning how to improve, and this is what the toolkit's all about. So it's a more robust and arguably sophisticated approach than what you might be used to with with simple frameworks.
Yes, thank you. I remembered you also said at one of your sessions that the Disciplined Agile toolkit actually helps you ask questions as to what Agile approach is best for what problem you face at your workplace. I think we have another question on the chat, and it says, the notion of tactical scaling is very prescriptive. WOW is a toolkit where one can choose, and seeing after the initial diagnostic, a team applies the following to the point of, okay, this is a contribution. Okay, good. There is a question here. How can project managers leverage Agile to be more effective in their project? Conversely, how does Agile leverage PM to get better? I love this question.
Yeah, definitely. So Agile, if you have an Agile mindset, you'll learn how to become more collaborative, more to be able to interact well with others, and to actually be more focused on quality. So one of the differences, very huge differences actually, between Agile and some of the more traditional approaches to project management is around the iron triangle. So where many traditional project managers will be focused on being on time and on budget, they will often sacrifice quality to do that. And what's even worse is they very often will not be on time and on budget, and they'll be playing all these little games to make it look like they're on time and on budget. They'll cut scope. So you didn't deliver as much as you promised, but you're still on time and on budget. So no, you weren't on time and on budget. You're effectively lying. Or you had to go and get the budget increased. So fair enough, but you're no longer on original budget. So anyways, there's all these games that get played. But the worst game almost always is to cut quality. And that builds up technical debt in your organization and actually puts your organization at risk. So you might make your short-term deliverable, and you've successfully delivered the project, but you've actually harmed the organization to do so. And very often, particularly if you've had a particularly in the IT field, but this is certainly true in others. If you've made it very difficult for your stakeholders, your customers to change their minds and to actually evolve their requirements because you've got to be on time and on budget and you're being held to the contract, then you might deliver on time and on budget, but you deliver something they don't want, so you've still failed. And so Agile really starts to look at how can we rethink that and how can we take a much more mature and robust approach and sort of get out of this on time and on budget mindset, which really isn't helping. And what's interesting, I used to run research on issues like that. The executives aren't that concerned about being on time and on budget when you ask them. This is something the project managers have inflicted on the world. What's interesting is, given the choice, executives tend to be far more interested in spending the money wisely than being on budget. They tend to be far more interested in getting, shipping something when it needs to be shipped, deploying when it needs to be deployed, rather than being on schedule. And they're certainly more interested in deploying something that the customers actually want, as opposed to what they specified in the majority of cases. So, everybody's different, of course, but so we really need to take these sorts of observations to heart, and Agile enables you to make these trade-offs better and to understand the implications of what's going on. I think you're on mute, Grace.
My bad. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. You remind me again of your last session. There's no such thing as being on time and on budget. When you say when project managers say such things, they're basically lying and all of that. And so I think you reiterated that. We have a couple of more questions on the chat. Okay. This one comes again. Okay. This one says, I am passionate of Agile and a practitioner of the Agile Manifesto concept for many years, but think that I am the only Agile in my environment. Sorry, kindly mute. Kindly mute. Thank you. But think that I am the only Agile in my environment. I never use tool Agile. May you suggest the main tools that can help? I read a lot of Jira and Backlog for project management. I think he's trying to say, can you suggest tools he can use for his project, being that he's the only person that is Agile within his workspace?
Yeah, definitely. Well, given that you're the only one right now, I had to suggest using tools like whiteboards and post-it notes. So get get good at the practices, get good at the approach, and worry less about tools. Like learn how to manage your time, learn how to manage your backlog and evolve your backlog and stuff like that. And the easiest way to do that is with simple tools like post-it notes. If you needed to share that information with people, then maybe you need to start looking at some software-based tools. Considering you're probably remote given COVID, but I would certainly start at keeping my tools as simple as possible, and then get into the software, like the digital tools when and if needed. But because the challenge is how do you know how to, particularly when you're new to this, how do you know what tool to choose? And and I don't know anything about you, so I can't tell you, go off and use Microsoft Teams or Jira or a host of other options, because I don't know I don't know you, I don't know your skill set, I don't know the situation that you're in. So learn the techniques first. Worry about, and particularly when it comes to the management tools, worry about the management tools later, because you can post-it notes will probably get the job done.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Priya asks, can we adapt the toolkit in personal life? Any thoughts?
Sure. Certainly the toolkit's more oriented towards business life rather than personal life, but I would more point to the mindset of Disciplined Agile for advice for what I could do to improve my personal life. For example, one of the promises is to be more inclusive, to support diversity, and to promote a psychologically safe environment. So yeah, there's a lot of great, particularly in the mindset. There's a lot of great stuff that could be applied at the personal level.
Okay, thank you. Andy N asked again. I think he reframed his contribution from the last time. He says, The notion of tactical scaling is very prescriptive. WOW is a toolkit where one can choose, and seeing after the initial diagnostics, a team applies the following to the point of coordinating activity norms. Isn't this a contradiction of letting the team choose, but we prescribe an early ways of working?
No. So if this is the Andy I've been interacting with this morning, I hear where you're coming from. And if it's not, then, well, I guessed wrong. But anyways, yeah, so the notion of tactical scaling, if you're, you posted a diagram, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. But if it's the spider diagram, I think it is, then all it's doing is it's not prescribing anything. It's calling out factors, complexity factors and issues that you need to think about that you can rate your team against. As far as coordinated activities go, that's one of the many process goals of the DA toolkit, particularly the Disciplined Agile delivery portion of it. So what that process goal tells you is that you've got, well, first there's issues to think about. How am I going to collaborate within my team? How are we going to collaborate across a program? If we're part of a program. If we're not part of a program, that doesn't really matter. Well, that's just not, that part's not applicable, obviously. How are we going to collaborate across locations? Assuming that we're remote, and so on. And it gives you choices. Now, one of the things that we do in the toolkit is that we suggest, so some of the options are bolded, and that's an indication that if you're in a simple situation, then chances are reasonably good these choices are good starting points for you. You're still hopefully going to think about it, because we're probably only 95% right, because we can't possibly guess your exact situation. Now, if you're not in a straightforward situation, then you're going to think you're going to make some decisions. So that's what the bolding is all about in those diagrams, if that's what you're thinking about. So we're not prescribing anything, right? What we're doing is we're giving people, people who there are people who want to be told what to do. So we're pretty clear that, if you're in this situation, then more than likely these options are going to be close to what you need. And the options boil down to pretty much like a combination of Scrum, some ideas from extreme programming, some of the easier things out of extreme programming to do, some ideas out of Agile modeling, and some ideas out of the unified process to put it all together, right? Fix some of the gaping holes that we see in some of the Agile frameworks. So, but like I said, if you're not in that situation, then, and I think we're clear about that. If you're not in that situation, then those options might be good, might not be, but you're really gonna have to think for yourself. So if you're a globally distributed team in a life critical regulatory situation and you're 500 person strong, then the defaults are probably not going to be sophisticated enough. Yeah, some of them will be, but most of them won't be.
It's just that it's been presented in the inception phase. And when you're in this inception phase and suddenly you're presenting this, it feels like you're doing a pre-analysis of letting the teams, let them collaborate on their own, rather than, it's like, okay, we have to do Scrum and things like that, but you might find out that they don't need Scrum because they don't interact with all the teams. And when it feels like, okay, you're very 250 people, we got to do Scrums, and people come in, it's like, I have nothing to do here. I don't understand why it's here, because somebody's prescribed something, rather than letting teams just like, okay, don't do this exception, do it later.
Yeah, exactly. So your situation is unique, right? So like if you're a 250 person team, so say that's like 25 teams of 10 people, just to keep the math simple, Scrum is going to blow up in your face. It just isn't going to work, right? It doesn't scale to that. If you were a 50 person team, like 5 teams of 10, Scrum is probably going to be sufficient, because it's a simple strategy in a reasonably straightforward situation. Well, for when it comes to large teams, a 50 person program is a fairly straightforward situation in that environment. So it really, to your point, it really depends. And you need to be able to choose the right techniques for you. So, choosing a strategy that works well for a 10 person team will be the kiss of death for a 100 person team, and vice versa, right? A process that's sophisticated enough to handle 100 people, there'll be so much overhead there, it'll be ridiculous. So it's going to kill the 10 person team. And this gets to the point of this nonsense we've had for decades around repeatable processes, and that we're going to force the same process on everybody. Like if anybody who still believes in that, I would invite you to spend like more than 5 minutes to think it through. Like really, if it takes you more than 5 minutes to realize how fundamentally wrong that is, then, you know, reach out to me and I'll walk you through it. But like, ask yourself basic questions. You know, is a team of 5 people going to follow the same process as a team of 50 or 500? Of course not. Is a data warehousing team going to follow the same process as a marketing team? Of course not. Invite and go on and go on. Like I can just ask questions like that instantaneously to get you to think that one through. So anyways, yeah, we really need to enable our teams to help them to choose their way of working and to have a fit for purpose process. Allow them to be effective. It's really like, get out of the way, you know, allow them to be effective, and help them, of course, enable them, you know, don't just get out of their way, but, you know, the first step is to get out of their way. The second step is to actually help. So, you know, please do so.
Okay, we have questions streaming in for you, Scott. Priya asks again.
Yeah.
She says, we usually leverage XP principles in our projects for ensuring quality. Do we have any such principles which we can leverage in DA?
Yeah, so in DA, we've adopted all the, we've put all the practices of extreme programming into context. And, you know, it's like TDD and pair programming and good stuff like that. We've also, you know, expanded upon the mindset of XP and Lean and others and combined it. So, you know, the learnings of 20 years are reflected in the DA toolkit. We were never, ever limited by the Agile Manifesto, for example. Yeah, and we went beyond it years ago, and we've actually even gone beyond what we wrote up as the DA Manifesto, because we found the format of the original manifesto to be too constraining and to be too limiting to what we were trying to achieve. And so anyways, yeah, so if you take a look at the DA mindset, you'll see that it covers these same basic ideas. You know, respect and, you know, having courage might not be quite there. It's certainly implied, I think. But, you know, if you look at the 5 value, or originally 4 and then 5 values of XP, there's some great ideas there.
Okay, we'll go to our next question quickly. Have you thought, this is from Miran, it says, have you thought of adding a training stakeholders? Have you thought of adding training stakeholders?
Oh, adding training for,
Yes.
yeah. So if the question is, you know, do we have training that might be applicable to stakeholders? I think yes. So we have an e-learning offering called the Basics of DA, and it might be a little more than what's needed for stakeholders, but probably not that much more, because certainly it gets into fundamental concepts and the idea of you know, context counts, and you really need to choose your way of working. But yeah, a workshop offering, or probably an e-learning that's geared specifically for somebody in a stakeholder role on an Agile team or an Agile project would probably be a good thing. But certainly I would point you to the Basics of DA first of all, because that's more than likely, you know, it's going to get 80-90% of the job done, I suspect.
I was just thinking of, you know, people that want to, you know, yeah, they want to get into Agile and all of that, but they have, for example, an IT team that does not know about refactoring, or they have a set of stakeholders that get totally confused by a swimline, you know, kind of diagram, because it's not per row, it's like vertical. And, you know, just things like that can really affect. so kind of based a little bit on the techniques, you know, well, if you want to treat everything as exploratory, well, that's great, but then you need an Agile IT team that knows about refactoring and all of that. You know, that kind of requirements for some of the techniques. So the stakeholders, decision makers, basically upper level, kind of understand the decisions.
Yeah, so that's easier said than done. I hear what you're saying. We certainly actually have some phenomenally solid technical training for the IT people themselves, like around test-driven development and more importantly, sustainable test-driven development and design patterns and good stuff like that. Some of the challenges I think with training the executives on the techniques is, are they interested? And are they willing to put the time in? So if everybody could go on mute, that would be great. But because the thing is that every executive has different holes in their knowledge, right? So there's and how much do they need to know about refactoring? Unfortunately, although they certainly probably need to know more about technical debt than they do. Yeah, certainly. But yeah, it's a hard nut to crack, unfortunately. One of the things, in particular when it comes to IT, too many business stakeholders, like executives in particular, have tried to treat IT like a black box for decades now. Just throw it over the wall to the nerds and they'll take care of it. And they've got no fundamental understanding of the realities of IT. And they make very bad decisions as a result. And they struggle. I've seen a lot of IT projects really struggle because the executives in particular didn't understand the fundamentals. And it wasn't even. I'll leave it at that. They didn't understand the fundamentals, and that is a common thing. So.
Well, yeah, I understand that they don't understand the fundamentals, but maybe put requirements. If you want this, you need to have A, B, and C in your team. Yeah. Some requirements. That's it. That some. Anyhow, just the naming of the requirements. If you want to use this, then you require that kind of thing, more or less.
Yeah.
Not really get them into that. So anyhow, that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that goes into a nasty combinatoric hole. Yeah, that's the problem. But anyways, yeah.
Thank you so much. That was an insightful conversation. Amanda asked, she says, can you give us an example of how to apply DA in a non-IT/software organization?
Yeah. So first of all, IT is part of almost every single organization. You've got software infrastructure. Every single person on this call is operating right now on either some sort of a computer or a telephone. So first of all, there is no such thing as a non-IT or software organization. Other than maybe like some arts and craft, some knitting company, even them, they've probably got a website, right? But just ignore that for now, or they have to take payments somehow. So, but having said that, actually, Priya points out every software is a software organization. I recently wrote a detailed column on that, but the issue is one of there are many non-software or IT aspects of the organization. So your organization probably has a marketing function. It probably has, it might not be any good, but it probably does. It probably has some sort of a procurement function, some sort of a legal function, some sort of a data function, and so on, right? There's many aspects to your organization, and all those aspects can become more agile. They can become more lean. Behind me, I'm currently in a cottage we recently had built, where we took a hybrid agile approach to building it. We started with a traditional approach, and this is with my own money, right? So I practice what I preach. We started with a traditional approach because we thought, well, how hard could it be to build a house, right? We've been doing this for millennia. Well, apparently that was a bad assumption. And we ended up having to apply a lot of agile techniques in order to get the job done. And that was the reality of the beast. In Toronto, where I normally live, we recently, a couple of years ago, a construction company built a hospital using a hybrid agile approach, where they put the structure up using traditional techniques, because of legal or regulatory stuff and laws of physics and good things like that. But when they went to go and put the floors in, the floor design was developed just in time because the technology in the medical field and the needs of the community evolved so quickly that if they had taken a traditional approach and pre-planned that, they would have built a hospital that did not meet the needs of the community and would have not have reflected the current best understandings of how to actually serve the people well. So it would have been a serious mistake to build that hospital in a traditional way. And it worked phenomenally. I believe they've won awards now for the awesome work that they've done. So it is possible and highly desirable. So if somebody tells you they can't be agile, all they really tell you, or that they're in a situation where they can't be agile, all they're really telling you is that they don't know how to do it. And and help them, help work with them to rethink things and start asking questions. But you can always be, like I said, you can always be more collaborative. You can always work together find ways to work together more effectively and to be more focused on quality and things like that. You can always do that if you try.
Wow, thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for really enlightening us and getting us to think more. There's no such organization that is non-IT. Every organization is an IT organization. Thank you so much. The questions were actually streaming. I never thought they were, because we started on a low key and the questions kept coming. Quickly, we'll be moving on. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you. Let's just give Scott a round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, next on our lineup is Priya. I'll be sharing my screen again. We actually got the idea for the program the event was to get Agilists that were actually first project managers, PMI members, to tell us their story, their journey to agility. And so we have our first, Priya. She's from India. Priya is quite popular within the PMI circle. We're done with this. So, sorry. Okay, let's have Priya. Priya is an Agile Evangelist. She calls herself an Agile Evangelist and a program manager in technology industry. She's an innovative strategic professional with over a decade of progressive expertise in leading and managing IT projects in finance, healthcare, transportation, and sourcing domain. Spearheaded IoT transformation programs supporting 10 customers. Currently, she's leading the Agile community of practice at organization and community of 500 plus members across 40 countries to percolate the Agile practice across their organizations. She's also a contributing author to Transform Your Leadership by Naomi Kaiti, and she's a columnist for PM Network and a PMI Awards winning magazine for 2017, 2018, and 2019. So let's welcome Priya Patra from India as she comes on to have a discussion around her Agile journey. Welcome, Priya.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you, Priya.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, it's an absolute pleasure to come and talk here at the festival, and that too after Scott. I am a little nervous because he did such a great job. I'm not sure how I'm going to do. Yes, so when Grace asked me about my journey to agility, I just thought, oh, when did I start, adapting agile practices? And it actually dates back years. I don't even know whether I knew there was agile at that point of time. It's actually a journey of myself from I am not good enough to, yes, being good enough is amazing. So I've always been not a good enough person personally. And, obviously no one was happy.
Yeah, we've been working on that since the beginning of that. So in all the features that have been released so far, those are all responsive. And by mobile, we mean that the browser
can you need to mute someone. So
yes, muted.
So
hello, Priya.
You muted me as well, Grace.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies, Priya. My apologies.
Not a problem, not a problem.
Yeah.
So my journey to agility is, I will say, starts with myself first. Just as Scott said, it's all about, the mindset. And I always thought that I was not good enough. And I always was faced with certain goals that I had to achieve, and I could never achieve them while I was a child. And I would say I was like a dark sheep in a middle class family, very high in intellect. And obviously, I was always compared with my siblings, my cousins, etc. And I could never excel in anything. And that kind of made me go, backwards rather than move forwards. And it took me around, say, 13 years of my life to understand what is in it for me. And that's where my journey to agility started. So certain principles of agile that I have imbibed in my life is about it's about not being mediocre, but about thinking about the positive things in life, right? And it's about amplifying value one day at a time. And with this philosophy in mind, of course, I have built certain communities within the organization as well as outside the organization where I work for. And I have built a community of 500 women, which is again a virtual collaboration platform, where we truly believe that being good enough is just amazing. It's not that you have to be an expert to, kind of help each other or power each other up, but it's about, how you capitalize on what skill do you have. It's about how you progress every day, take one step at a time. That's probably how I have imbibed agility in my life, and I'm trying to ensure that I kind of pass on my learnings to everyone that whom I come across. uh, Professionally, I started my career as a software engineer, and I don't know whether you would call me as a impatient person who always wanted to see results. And I remember my first project, and we were doing documentation for 2 months, writing the design documents, and obviously something that I was struggling. And I thought probably I was not creative enough to visualize how that module of software would work. And so I started developing a small POC and testing it. While I was developing on the design, I was testing it. And little did I know that I was creating a small MVP, minimum viable product. Only problem was here that I was not taking the feedback from the customer, but I was giving the feedback to myself. Yeah, this is how it is supposed to work. This is how I should move forward. And for many years I kept that as a secret, because I didn't want anyone to think that I was not creative enough, then I was not confident about my work. And I would always try out start coding while I was doing the documentation, one step at a time, right, while I was writing the design document. And by the time my design doc was ready, I was sure 100% that what I designed would work. And when it was time to develop the code, I would just go and refine that code and make it more efficient. Again, I was practicing refactoring. I didn't know that at that point of time. And that's how I started, imbibing the agile principles or practices. And one day I was introduced to Scrum, and it was, I would say, it was love at first sight. And I really loved it. Just enough design, build MVP, get the feedback, and build on the product incrementally was something which I was always attracted to. And retrospection, definitely, it was a wow factor for me. It kind of gave me actionable points which I could focus on for improvement. And every improvement, you kind of motivated me to push forward, push myself harder towards my goals. And that's how my journey to agility has been. And since then I have moved into different roles, from a software engineer to a project leader to a project manager. And as and when I went through, I did number of certifications, just as everyone does. And as Scott said, I don't restrict myself to a certain certification, but I try to take the good practices from everywhere and see what fits into my project. So I would probably be using Scrum plus XP plus Kanban just to ensure that, whatever suits for my project is something that uh, I am leveraging.
Wow.
When I look back the last, I will say 20 years in the software industry, I just wish that I had taken steps, not fearing that I would fail, because I mean, with every risk that I took, I kind of learned more and improved myself. But early in the early days, probably I had taken. I was a little scared of trying out new things because I thought I would fail. I was insecure that what would people think about me, and probably that's something that I could have done differently.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So yes,
Wow.
and
Okay.
my learnings as an agilist, I would think that surround yourself, I try to surround myself with positive people who are continuously learning and evolving, because that also motivates me to continuously learn. They are a source of inspiration for me, and every day, every night, I inspect and adapt. I always think what I have done better today, and what I've done today, and what I can do better tomorrow. That is what would be my next step. And that's my journey to agility, from being not good enough to, I was never good enough. I never even tried, to being good enough is amazing. Now I really like to try something new. Maybe I will succeed, maybe I will fail, but that's how I have embarked on this journey.
Wow.
So Grace, over to you.
That's
That's my journey to agility.
That's wonderful. Hearing from you, the famous Priya, knowing that it hadn't always been rosy, you had failed a couple of times. But let me throw this question to you very quickly so we get on and we keep to time. What has been your biggest challenge being an agilist?
Yeah, to change my own mindset, try to take kind of risk, and did not fear the failure that would come. Right, I always thought I will fail, I will not try this, let me be behind someone, because I didn't want to try something new. So as and when time went through, I kind of bought in that mindset. Yeah, it is okay to fail. Just take one step at a time. Yeah, maybe that's the biggest challenge that has been for me.
Well, Tolu is thanking you. He says, thanks, Priya, for being real. So encouraging listening to you. I have more questions for you, Priya, but we have to move on. I'll call on. Thank you so much, Priya. It is really heartwarming listening to your story. It resonates with everybody. We fail at some point, but never be scared to fail. Fail fast and learn fast. I think that's the learning. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Quickly, our next speaker is Ezekiel Odero. He's from Kenya. Like I said, we needed to hear voices from different regions of the world, being that Agile 20 Reflects is in almost every region of the world. Let's get to hear the stories of Agilists from all regions, and then so we can relate. So we're not just hearing from somebody from Asia or Europe or America, but all around, and then we can pick one or two things from them and on our journey as well. Ezekiel is an Agile delivery and quality assurance professional with experience working in East and West Africa. He's experienced with coaching and leading teams and transformations in the financial industry, having led a major organizational change in an insurance company, resulting in 3 distinct companies, and played a key role in Agile adoption and scaling at a large bank as a new way of work, which is now accepted and practiced organization-wide. He's also led delivery of multiple concurrent Agile initiatives in banking, as well as regulatory changes such as foreign account tax compliance. He enjoys driving strategy, delivery, focusing on the big picture with a keen eye on detail, besides sharing and learning from diverse experiences. So welcome Ezekiel as he tells us his journey to agility, and I believe we'll learn quite a lot, just as we did from Scott and Priya. Welcome, Ezekiel.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a good evening to join up with the rest of the participants to share on different aspects of our journey in Agile. Well, it's normally interesting to say where the journey started, but sometimes we find ourselves walking, not sure where we started the journey. But nevertheless, for me, I think I'd worked on conventional project management for about 4 years. Then luckily I found myself in a bank, and within the bank, there were sets of projects that were classified in different sizes, from small, medium to large. And so my entry point was to start with the small projects then. So these were largely projects that would have a budget of up to about $20,000, lasting about 3 months or so. So I started working on that alongside the software testing on that note. Being able to work with the product owners across different bank lines, across retail, corporate banking, normal operations, finance, depending on which aspects of the products are being delivered. So these were largely products that were, like in a bank, typically products will be tied to the core banking system at the end of the day, in one way or another, because that's where at the end of the day, that you made money, or you made money made you. Yeah, so I worked on that, scaling to a point where I was given the opportunity to lead a number of them, more than one, multiples. So we work on to the lowest level of what is the requirement, looking at what does the end user need. So we'll have the discussions with the product owners or product managers, as they would be called, just to understand to detail what they wanted for the different units, until this became many. So we had to look at a way of harmonizing delivery. So we would want to look at how do we prioritize these different deliverables for the different functions. So we ended up coming the way in which each business line would be able to, put like in a bucket their requirements. And so the journey started more of that. And so they would look at, okay, what do we need top of our bucket? Then the other unit will also pick, and so on and so forth. So we'll go to short planning season periods of typically a month. Then we're not talking of calling them sprints, as they will be called later on. So we'll look at a month, break it down into what deliverables were we looking at for each function based on that. So we had teams that were made up of, QA, develop at a minimum. Certain times we outsourced the developers because there was so much to be done, but internal capacity was limited. And again, because some of the work required some level of specialization that will not be, readily available to take care of all the needs that were. So that became it. That was the starting point. We built on it, and a few years down the line, I got an opportunity to be leading another important change on that, which was about now an implementation of core bank system. And because of my little experience, if I would say so, on being able to look at the finest of the details of what they were needed by the end users, I was given the opportunity to be in charge of the Agile program quality assurance for that. And this was initially being led by, a person from what we call the Big Four. Unfortunately, it was not so easy for me to pick up, for the reason that the person felt I was, taking over their job for some kind of a reason which they were not happy about. So what happens? Well, I go in, I'm asked to look at how do we do this better. I have a week, and I engage the different teams, look at what has been done, where is everything, and I come up with a 10-point agenda on what I think will be able to take us forward from that point. We discussed this with the team all the way up to the leadership that was, in charge of that delivery of that change. And well, it gets a nod. Coming down to implementation, now because these people had been in the project for quite some time, and they are still continuing as the team anyway, as the lead consultant for that, the company. So coming down to execution, we need to have the daily team engagements to, just pick up where is every piece and how do we get to prioritize and balance the work that we are doing across the features that we have for the different functions. And then, the person in charge says, no, you can't use our, twice almost in quotes, intellectual property, if I may say so, but not really as such. So there was extensive reporting, which we needed to, minimize because we wanted to have a lot more engagements and reporting. So they say, okay, I can't use their templates that they were using for reporting, which had been formalized and people were aware of. So I had to spend a night thinking about that. And this involved a number of systems. We had the Jira of the days, we had the test trail and other systems that people work until late and you have to get this together and, communicate to the leadership on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so finally that one we took through and went a lot of learnings on that. And later on, I get an opportunity now to lead an agile transformation that was to play a key role in agile transformation in a bank again. So this was the big one of them in a way of agile transformation. So banks that they needed to deliver faster and better than they're done, and that chosen agile as the preferred way of delivery. And good enough had been there before working on the small projects, had a good understanding of the bank environment and the systems and processes that the bank followed to deliver their solutions. And I'd also built a good relationship across board with the different functions, the teams that were involved and all that. So we are here, the bank wants to go agile.
Oh, my apologies, Ezekiel. Sorry, I was trying to mute him, but you're muted.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we had to look at how do we start. So there was the big part of, do we say a bit about culture change to agile? So there was an organization-wide approach to making people aware of what this was from the change perspective. And this went to the point of having champions from each function who will be able to drive this. So the champions were identified and trained on agile practice. These were both theory and a little bit of hands-on training. And then I was asked to, champion the delivery part of that transition. So went through a lot of processes. I mean, a lot of ways of getting what we needed to pick for the championship of that change. Finally, we ended up with about 4 product lines that we needed to look at some of the top priority and most valuable aspects that needed to be delivered. So we went through this, we formed teams that's besides value stream mapping. So we did a lot. So just to cut it short, so we had about 4 teams that were starting this. So for each team, we had, just sit downs with the different persons we had identified who could be responsible based on the value stream mapping that we had done, just to see if it is something, for example, touching on the channels in the bank, which are the channels, who are the people with the specialties in the channels, so we put that together, and then we took the team now to further coaching the champions that had been coached, plus now the additional people who had come from the overall teams to work on this. Again, we picked on that. A number of challenges here and there, different, different levels of expectation, understanding, and mindset, because ordinarily we would have cases where the developer hands over to, what I would say, the person's deploying and QA comes in somewhere. So this is a case where all people come together to work on a solution and aspects of that solution along the journey. So that went well, it succeeded, and ultimately we were able to scale to another team. What we had picked was a solution that was to be rolled out. It was being used for tea auction, in Kenya and East Africa countries for that matter. So there was also demand, a very aggressive demand from the market that this be rolled out. So that really worked well for us for the start. But definitely a lot of learnings. We tried to create open environments for people to learn and adapt. The retrospects and reviews we did, at least for most of the time for the start. And the more we did this, people were able to open up and share their experiences freely. And we created a way in which we could give people some rewards, sometimes material, sometimes just by way of recognition. When we had the bigger team, we used to have what we call some weekly meetings that took care of the whole team, the department. So we'll recognize some of the people who really worked hard. We'll share the lessons that people were, experienced and learned. Then we went on and on with that. So at some point, we were able to convince the leadership that this thing works. So how do we make it a bigger way of making things work? Finally, I see time is running out. So we're able to put a business case that, we have been able to demonstrate value.
Wow.
And so we're able to take this to the next team, scaling it across board, understanding that the team is unique, and not necessarily what worked for one team would work for the other as well. So we ended up with a lot of customizations along the journey. And for that organization, they went fully agile. Not just within the technology part, but even the entire organization. No doubt it's not on the same scale. For the technology solutions, that's fast moving. For the other aspects, there's also a lot of improvements and alignments, including aspects of budgeting. How do you allocate funds for, when you're doing in Agile? How do you procure? How do you engage partners when you're outsourcing? And some partners won't practice Agile. They want you to go more, waterfall type, because maybe you're working with a fixed cost and they want to be sure you're locking requirements and all that. So a lot of learnings. I think I'm told time is up, so maybe I'll pause at that. You can take questions.
Wow,
and share.
Presentation is quite your journey is quite detailed. I think you have to write a book on this one. Thank you so much, Ezekiel. I would like to ask at this point, how long did it take the organization to actually adopt Agile across?
So we did 4 months. After the 4 months, we were able to start adopting it organization-wide, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was like a rapid, there was this pressing need to go Agile. Having successfully done it one team, there was this pressing need to go Agile. Was that the case?
Sorry, again?
I said, having successfully done Agile with a particular team in the organization, there was this pressing need to go further, right?
Yes, sure. Yes.
Wow, that's quite interesting. I think Agile adoption becomes much more easier when management accepts and gives you the go ahead to do it. That's our learning.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Ezekiel. We have to move quickly. We'll take questions at the end of the remaining presentations. Okay, shortly we will be hearing from Amanda. Amanda is actually from Paraguay, South America, and she's a Disciplined Agile champion. Amanda has 13 years of experience as a project manager. Wow. She's currently in the roles of a senior analyst for PMO and Agile facilitator for TMO at Logicalis Latam, with training in electronics engineering. Amanda has the PMP, PMI, ACP, PMI, PBA certifications of Project Management Institute, PDA and CDAP of Disciplined Agile, PMI. I think Scott will love this one, as well as others such as ITIL, version 3, DevOps, Foundations, Data Ops, Kanban, Scrum Master, Product Owner, Design Thinking, and Data Science Foundations. Okay, when I see women like you and Priya, I get so excited. Welcome, Amanda. Let's have you.
Thank you, Grace. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Amanda.
I am Amanda, as Grace say, I'm from Paraguay, Asunción, and I'm going to tell you all my personal journey and my PMI local chapter journey to Disciplined Agile. Well, I have a PMI background, as you have seen. I always have a project manager for a long time. And I have to admit that I was not aware about Disciplined Agile until PMI bought it on August 2019. I was very, very curious at the first time, and I began my searching immediately about what was Disciplined Agile, what was all, is a toolkit, is a methodology, what is it, what? So I start my reading, my research, and I say, oh, okay, it's a toolkit. It's not another methodology. It's not another framework. Okay, sounds good. I want to know more. So I took on my first training. my first training was on November on 2019. And at that time, the course called Disciplined Agile in a Nutshell was the foundation level of the first course. After that, I have more knowledge, and I were more confident about, okay, this is Disciplined Agile. And it was all like Scott said, it was really great to share with people from around the world when we start our journey on Disciplined Agile. Well, week after that, and after passing the exam, I obtained my first DA certification. And a little longer, I started reading the book because Choose Your WOW book was published from all, and it was free for all PMI members, so it was really great from that. I started reading the book to complement all my researching and the workshop, and I feel like I was more confident about what was about. At the same time, I read on PMI site that there were a new role called DA Chapter Champion. So you, as a chapter champion, you can be a volunteer. You can volunteer for your chapter, like promoting or spreading the knowledge about Disciplined Agile. So I again feel a little curious about that, and I start making my research on what was the responsibilities, and so I get more and more deeper. So the conversations began with my Asunción, PMI Asunción chapter, my local chapter. So I start sharing with them what was Disciplined Agile all about. Well, you know, we are a small country. No, everyone knows about Paraguay, but we are the heart of South America. So we start to talk with our board, our PMI board. So if we could start this new role in our chapter. So they were really open, and I have to thank them because they were really supportive in all this journey. It wasn't easy, I know, because it's something new and not everybody wants to take risks and to know new things, but they were really supportive with me in this journey. So in February 2020, I participated on my second workshop, and was called Foundations of Lean, and it was a great workshop. I took it with Joshua Barnes. What I recommended, it was an excellent instructor, and I think this workshop prepared me for the next certification that it was the CDAP, now known as DASSM. At that time was that I really felt that I was ready to accept the challenge and really assume the chapter champion role in my local chapter. So again, I have to say a big thanks to all the board, the PMI Students and Chapter Board, because they were really, really great with me and for their unconditional support. In April 2020, we made our first 2 presentations in our local chapters. Just that when the pandemic was beginning, and we made virtual because all the meetings always was in presence, but we made it through to the digital tools, and it was really great. We made 2 presentations about Disciplined Agile, and we have a lot of people really interested in that. It was really, really great. Shortly after that, all the changes on the certification path on Disciplined Agile came. So we start again to make our published and launched communications for all our members in our local newsletter to let them know about all these changes. Well, we keep it then informing all the times. It's a journey we just started last year, and we'd like to, of course, this year continue. For this year, my personal goal is to continue my learning journey. I would like to obtain the GA coach certification this year. I hope soon. And continue spreading and sharing a little more about how we can choose our wow at my local chapter and well, we all the GA community.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I think we can have context to all of our speakers today. You know, you want to know more about the certifications and Disciplined Agile, you cannot just only go to Scott. You have Amanda. So she can walk you through. Let me also add that you can connect with all our speakers on LinkedIn. They are all on LinkedIn. It's really great listening to what your chapter has really done, you know, creating the awareness about Disciplined Agile. And you took the first step to actually begin reading, take the baby steps, as Scott would say, getting to do the basics and all of that. Thank you so much, Amanda. Let me also ask you this question. What has been the challenge? Have you really been, has Disciplined Agile does it have a wide acceptance in Paraguay? Are you able to bring people on board?
Yes, I think they are really curious like me when I start. So this is a good thing because when people want to know more, it's because they are really interested. So they are really waiting for me to make some presentations for the chapter.
Yeah.
And I think I will prepare something more for this year because they really want to know more. It's really great.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I think the first time receiving your application to be an ambassador at Agile Reflect, I went through your LinkedIn and I said you were the right person. And when we thought of this event, I still went back to your profile and I said, Amanda is the right person. And I think we really were no wrong. Thank you so much, Amanda. We'll get back to you with some more questions. Okay, last to speak to us, but not the least, is Mohammed Jamil. He's from Bahrain. It will interest you to know that Mohammed is actually doing great things in Bahrain. I had also the opportunity of having a chat with him while he also was coming on board as an Agile 20 Reflect ambassador for Bahrain. And his story really moved me on what he's doing in Bahrain, bringing the local chapter for PMI to Bahrain, and also taking out of his really busy schedule to do trainings and create awareness of Agile in Bahrain. And so it's really wonderful. Let's have Muhammad Jamil, an Agile 20 Reflect ambassador from Bahrain. He's a passionate Agilist, a community worker, and an Agile leader with about 13 plus years of experience in information technology and played several key roles as enterprise agile coach, senior project manager, solutions architect, team lead, scrum master, mentor, and speaker. His consulting experience spans across a wide range of domains such as software development, digital transformation, agile transformation, applications development, solutions architects, and modernization projects for telecom, banking, and fintech clients all across the Middle East region. Mohammed is also an IC Agile authorized trainer for Agile coaching track. Please welcome Mohammed Jamil. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Hi, everyone. So my name is Mohammed Jamil, as Grace already introduced. Good to be part of this event. Very good presentation so far, really enjoyed. So Grace has already introduced me briefly. I'm from Bahrain. I originally belong from Pakistan, but I'm based out of Bahrain. So I started off about in 2008 as a programmer. I'm a very passionate programmer. I still do programming, which I really like. So I keep on doing it as a side hobby. So in 2008, I started off my career, and then in 2010, I became the team lead. That's when I started managing the team, which was apparently the biggest team in the organization. And then from one team to multiple teams, I became a project manager in 2012. When I started managing multiple projects, multiple teams, cross-functional teams. And 2014 is when I came across Agile. Actually, it's kind of Agile discovered me when we had to do a project with one of our US-based client, and the client was requesting us to do it in an Agile way. So we started reading more into Scrum, and we started implementing Scrum with our teams and on that project, which was really a fun activity, and we learned a lot during that whole project. And actually, the client was very helpful as well in all of that. And then looking at the benefits of doing that, and having learned a lot of things in that project, with in the organization, we decided why not just continue this and not stop at the end of this project. So we took it there. I was given the task to learn more about Scrum and start implementing it across multiple projects. Start training the teams, start training the people, start giving some presentations about it. So I took the initiative, learned a lot, went into a lot of self-learning. By the way, by this time I was a person who never believed in certifications. So I just had this belief: if you know the drill, if you know how to do it, how to get it done, you are good. You don't need a certification to do that. So anyways, I went into a lot of self-learning. I was given all the support I needed from the organization, and we implemented Scrum on few teams and on few projects, and we uh, went into a phase where we said, okay, let's just see how sorry for that, let's just see how it goes. And then with all the Agile projects, we started getting benefits out of it. And then the more success we got, the more benefits we got, the more motivated we became to invest more into this Agile transformation. Moving on, I did my PMP certification in 2018 in Bahrain, and immediately we felt the need. I will come back to the Agile part, but I want to bring in the PMI part as well, because that's also something which is what I've done and which I'm proud of as well. So 2018 is when I did the PMP certification, and immediately I got connected with a small community here in Bahrain. And just to highlight, we don't have an official chapter in Bahrain, official PMI chapter in Bahrain. We do have one in Dubai. We do have one in Saudi, which are two next countries right next to Bahrain, but we don't have a chapter in Bahrain, an official chapter. So 2018, we some like-minded people here in Bahrain, all PMP certified, we got together at Starbucks and we decided to start doing something about bringing a PMI chapter in Bahrain, and we formed an unofficial Bahrain chapter for PMI. In 2018, I was one of the 4 members who started the initiative. And then we started doing some events in Bahrain to promote promote this PMI chapter. And I would have to mention that we got a lot of support from UAE chapter in organizing those events and all the logistics. Most of us are a member of UAE chapter as well. So 2018, we started some small events in Bahrain to promote this PMI chapter and bring on more people on board with this initiative. And finally, by the end of 2019, with the help of UAE chapter, we were able to organize the first PMI conference in Bahrain, where if you know Tony Appleby, he's the board member of PMI. He was actually part of this conference as a chief guest and as a speaker. We were able to get him on board, and we got some very amazing people from UAE coming to the organization. That happened in 2019 and end of 2019, somewhere in November. And then we had some plans for 2020, but COVID came and it could not move forward well. Meanwhile, I started doing some certifications in Scrum. I'm the first one in Bahrain who is a CSP, Professional Scrum Master. And now I think 4 or 5 people after me have done that certification. I'm the first one in Bahrain who is IC Agile authorized instructor. There's no one else at the moment in Bahrain. And I'm probably one of the very few people in entire GCC region who have that certification done. Along the way, so basically in Bahrain, as a project manager, I transitioned to Agile, and then from there onwards, I'm still working. I won't say that I'm just working in Agile. I'm still working in projects that demand pure waterfall approach, and there is nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. That's the whole point of inspect and adopt. So I'm still doing projects which are pure waterfall projects. I'm still doing projects which are hybrid projects with mix of Agile and waterfall. I'm doing projects which are only on Scrum, so we can say they are pure Agile projects. So this is based on the nature of the project and what requires, what is the best methodology that can be used for that project. So when I was doing all these Agile things, I realized that there is nothing much happening in the local region, local market when it comes to Agile. You will note, as I said, I was the first one who became the CSP, which is a certification, the top level certification for Scrum Master with Scrum Alliance, those of you who know about it. So you won't see any Scrum Master jobs here in this region. You won't see any Agile Project Manager jobs here that often. And nobody really knows about what Scrum Master is, what Scrum is. A lot of companies, a lot of banks, they boast about being Agile, but there is nothing Agile about them, actually. So what I realized is that whole awareness, that whole education about Agile is not there in Bahrain. And that was, by the way, the time when I was also very confused, and it reached to a point where I was thinking maybe I'm not in the right country, probably, because I want to do Agile, I want to promote Agile, I want to excel in Agile, but I didn't get the support from the industry, the support I was looking for. And even with different job offers, I was discouraged, like we are looking for a traditional project manager, which is what I'm doing, as I mentioned earlier, but I didn't want to switch to a job where I would end up just doing traditional project management and nothing about Agile. So I was in a situation where I was thinking of moving to probably Canada or some other European country. and settle down there where there is more agile stuff happening compared to just staying in Bahrain and just trying, it was like just banging my head on the wall for that small period of time. But then, thanks to my friends, some of my mentors, I discussed this with them, and they told me you have two options: either you go there and settle down in those countries, or you become a pioneer here and start bringing this in this area. Which actually was amazing to hear. And then I thought, okay, why can't I do something about bringing Agile here in this region? That's when actually it got triggered, and I started doing I actually started with my friends and my co-workers and my clients, and we started talking more about Agile. And then they were the ones who was saying, why don't you do a event or a webinar or something where we can bring more people and we can discuss more about this. So I started doing a Agile cohort, a weekly cohort here in Bahrain, which is still going on and off, not that regular based on my time and availability, but that is in process. Right now, I have built my own small Agile community in Bahrain. We have a lot of people who are doing more Agile certifications. The awareness is there. So it's still work in progress. It's not ideal condition, but this is what I'm trying to do in this region, and this is where we are today. I've become the ambassador for Bahrain as well along the way. I'm doing 3 to 4 events as part of the festival. I'm actually doing one event every weekend. So this is one for this week, and then 3 more are coming after this. So this is my brief introduction, and this is my journey so far. I'm also taking a lot of interest in professional coaching. I'm doing some coaching certifications, which are almost towards the end. And this is just the beginning of my journey. It's not the end, and a lot more is going to come.
Oh.
So thank you very much. Back to you, Grace.
Wow, thank you so much, Mohammed. I think, wow, it's a really inspiring story. I think if there's anything I picked, I don't know I can't speak for the rest, but I'll speak for myself, is be exceptional, start where you are, be exceptional, and be great at what you do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think you summed everything up well. You've spoken of your challenges, how you wanted to leave the country and go to Canada, but thank God for, and thank goodness for relationships. It's your relationships actually spoke to your situations, and they got you rethinking, and now you're a pioneer of bringing your one of the pioneers of your PMI local chapter in Bahrain. So thank you so much. I don't know if you have any questions from you all. Would you like to ask any questions, or do I go ahead and ask them to give us their last thoughts? I think we've really run out of time. Yeah, you can go, and I see your hand. Welcome.
Hey, Grace.
Yeah.
So I'm here to support my friend Jamil. Okay, I'm the Canadian ambassador for the Agile Festival. And good, Jamil, you did not come to Canada. Otherwise, people would be losing out on Bahrain, right?
Yeah.
And I'm here to support my fellow Canadian Scott as well. So here I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we, Priya, what are your finishing thoughts? Can we hear from you? What would you like to tell somebody that is actually starting his journey right now? We have quite a number of them on here. Hi, Priya.
Yes. So, Grace, I would think that, take the first step. Don't be scared of failures, right? Take the first step. And just as Jamil said that, he was thinking of moving to another country, but he became the pioneer. Why can't you become the pioneer? And surround yourself with positive people. That will give you a lot of hope. Yeah, that's my take here.
Thank you, Priya. Agility. Yeah, thank you so much. Ezekiel, can we hear your closing thoughts? Hi, Ezekiel.
Yes, thank you. I think this will be an easy one, so I would borrow from the
Speak to your sister, your African sister. Speak to us Africans. Speak to the African audience.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My closing remark would be that as the basic one, that the time to change is never the next time, it's just now. So if the rate of change on the outside is greater than the rate of change on the inside, then the end is near. So it starts with a person choosing to change and get better. That is from Jack Welch, formerly of GE Electronics.
Wow, thank you so much. Really brief. Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hi, okay. Well, I will tell you that always follow your dreams, no matter how hard is it. Always.
Always follow your dreams. Follow your dreams.
Yes.
Amanda started. She started with baby steps, and she's up there. Connect with Amanda and learn how she did it. Amanda. Okay, Jamil, can we have your closing thoughts?
Yeah, so again, this is again what I'm doing. Just know what you want to do, know what you need to do, and then start doing it instead of just get out of the planning mode and start doing the action, start taking the action. That's the most important thing. Unless you take that first step, you will never reach anywhere.
Thank you so much. I'm laughing at Scott's comment. He said you're welcome to Canada, but well, you need to be willing to deal with the cold. It's -7 degrees where I am right now. The summers are great though. Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much, Scott. Okay, let's have your finishing thoughts, Scott. I think all of us would like to hear what you say. How should we move from here, especially people that are just starting their journeys, people that are almost discouraged, people that think their organizations are not willing to adopt Agile, even though an organization like where Ezekiel was actually willing. We've had different stories. One from Ezekiel, a willing organization, and another from Jamil. Basically, he had quite a number of struggles. So let's hear you, Scott. What are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about being willing to learn and to experiment and to try new things, and take that first step. And and also look outside of Agile. It's certainly Agile is great, and but so is Lean, and there's some great ideas in the traditional world as well. So in the end, it's not about being Agile. It's about learning how to learn and get better, and to work smarter, don't work harder. And of course, Agile has some great advice for doing that, but it's not just about Agile. So be open-minded, keep learning. It's a wonderful life when you're constantly learning. If you ever get a chance, talk to older people, and they'll always tell you to always be trying new things and to always learn and always choose to get better. So do that. It's wonderful advice.
Wow. Thank you. Never stop learning, Scott says. Just keep on learning. Keep on learning. Thank you so much to all of you, from Scott Ambler to Priya Patra to Ezekiel Odero to Amanda Zarate to Mohammed Jamil. Thank you so much for coming here, for gracing this occasion and giving us, really enlightening our minds and giving us directions on what to do. Thank you so much. It's really been a great experience. I would like to urge all of you to visit our website, www.agile20reflect.org, and just take advantage of any of the events. Go, the learning is free. You get to connect. It's a downtime all over the world. So get talking with people. Thank you so much all for being here tonight. From us at Agile 20 Reflect, from the speakers and everybody, we say have a wonderful afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you are. And we'll see you at the next event. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.